Okay, I have a question from NLP study on reframing, the NLP technique reframing, although it exists outside of NLP. The question goes, I don't know how much you're into reframing, but whenever I try it on myself, I don't feel any response. What might be happening? So this is a great question, and before I answer this question, I'm going to say what reframing is, because I'm sure not everybody watching this video knows what that is. Reframing is a technique, if you like, whereby you place a different meaning around a particular set of events, something that has occurred, and you are specifically looking to put a meaning around it that is more conducive to creating a useful experience of that for yourself. So, give you a really superficial example. Let's imagine somebody is sitting in a queue of traffic, they're late for a meeting and they're going, oh, this is terrible, I'm going to be late, I'm going to be late. And their whole focus, all their meaning making is focused around what this means in terms of them being late, and that creates a lot of stress and tension for them. So a reframe might be something like saying, oh well, you know, stuff happens and I can't really do anything to move the traffic, so maybe now would be a good time to just enjoy having a little extra space and time to myself. So this is a reframe. It's placing a different set of concepts, creating a different focus around what's going on, so as you experience it differently. Now, the question that's come in is saying, you know, when I try this on myself, I don't feel any response. Now, obviously, I don't know exactly what's going on here, but I do know what needs to happen for reframing to actually work, and I do know some things that can really get in the way of stopping it work. So that's what I'm going to share with you right here. The fundamental thing to understand here is the notion of reframing is based upon the idea that we do not experience the world as it is, but how we make it up to be. How we render it for ourselves conceptually and with our thoughts and with our ideas. This idea goes way, way back. I'm a big fan of Stoic philosophy. One of the things the Stoics pointed out, they advocated always staying within your sphere of power, so to speak. And what's within your sphere of power? According to the Stoics, the choices you make in the moment and your conceptions. How you conceive things to be, because they understood how you conceive things to be, how you make them up to be in your mind, will create your experience of them, which in turn, as I've talked about in other videos, that in turn creates your engagement, that in turn creates your results. So how you frame things, the concepts you look at the world through, or any moment in life through, will dictate the experience you have. So by changing the meanings you're making, by changing the frames, you change your experience. Now, in order to do this, it's necessary to really understand, really deeply understand, deeply get that you are not living in the world as it is. You need to really get that the concepts and the thoughts that you bring to bear make a huge difference, that your thoughts are not facts. The concepts you bring to bear exist in your mind and your judgment and not out there in the world. Not out there in the world. To do this effectively with yourself. And here's why. If I think a situation is absolutely terrible, and I'm telling myself that it's absolutely terrible, and then I remember reframing and I try and tell myself, actually, it's not terrible because I'm learning a lot and I'm growing from this. But I don't really believe that. The first set of frames, the original set, I think are facts. And I'm trying to force an artificial set of frames, which I see as just being thoughts. So I've got facts versus thoughts. If you think one frame is factual, and actually is representative of how things are, it doesn't matter how much forcing a new frame on top of it you do, because when your unconscious inner mind, your inner wisdom, whatever, has to choose between facts and ideas, it will choose facts. Now the mistake is in thinking the facts are facts, because the facts are not facts, they are thoughts. How we see things is not how they are, it is how we see them. So this is what happens, and I call this the truth trap. So if we hold the original set of frames as being truth on some level, and we put the new set of frames in and we're like, oh, that's just a cute maneuver, a cute mind-made maneuver or whatever, then it's not likely to take. Now, the interesting thing, I'm talking about self-application of reframing here. When you do reframing on yourself, you know what you're doing. You can't slide it under the radar. If you are an NLP practitioner and you're skilled with this, it isn't necessary that the person understands that their thoughts are thoughts and not facts. It isn't necessary that the person understands that they're experiencing the world not as it is, but how they are making it up to be in their mind. They do not need to do that. If you're sufficiently skilled with your language and it's a sufficiently skillfully delivered reframe, they'll have a mind shift. They'll go, and suddenly, because of the way you've delivered it using all your skills, the new frame, the new reality will strike them as more plausible and more powerful. If it does not strike them as more plausible and more powerful, the reframe will not land. The reframe will not land. A reframe is only a reframe if it actually reframes. Otherwise, it's an attempt to reframe. It is a failure to reframe. So when working with other people, providing you have the skill, you don't necessarily have to have it in place whereby they understand that they are living in their experience of life rather than living directly in life as it is. But if you're applying it to yourself, you have to be at that point where you can see it, where you can absolutely see with clarity how I am making this up to be is not how it is. It is not how it is. And this is one of the reasons why I actually prefer, for self-application, I don't tend to go for reframing in that traditional sense, which incidentally, I'm going to make another video on this very soon, or I may already have put it out by the time this gets viewed, on white path approaches versus black path approaches to self-development and engaging with the world. Because a reframe is like a white path approach. It's actually changing the illusion through which we engage so as to get a more effective result. Deframing is more powerful for self-application. Deframing, and this is a black path approach, it means dissolving the illusion away. Dissolving the illusion away. So if I'm, say, sat in a traffic queue and I'm going to be late, and I am feeling the tension in my body and I'm screaming at the traffic, come on! What I'm experiencing that moment is not really the traffic. It isn't the traffic. It's my thoughts about the traffic, my framing about the traffic, all of this, the stuff that I'm doing in my mind. Now, if I understand that and I see that, and I look at my experience and I feel the pain of my experience, and I know that that pain is making no difference in the world, and yet I know that this isn't really about the traffic. It's not really about the traffic. It's really about how I'm making this moment up to be. So by deframing, what I want to do is fall out of the frames. Fall out of the frames, fall out of the thinking, fall out of the ideas, and fall back into being me in that moment. Sat in a car, and there is traffic, and there are no rules in the universe about how things must or must not be, until I apply them in my mind and either create pain for myself or create freedom for myself. So the first step, more powerful than reframing for self-application, is deframing, falling out of the frames and just simply back into the present moment and back into the understanding that whatever you were feeling was your thinking, your rules about how things must be, how they should be, was your argument with reality, whatever it might be. So that's the more powerful position. So that's deframing, which is a black path approach in that it's about the death of the illusion, or the dissolving away of the mind-made illusion that you have been being had by. And for self-application, it is, I think, the place to go. Certainly because even if you want to use reframing, deframing creates the bedrock. Instead of trying to lay a new frame over an old frame when you're still bought into the old frame, you're deframing the old frame, which creates the space to bring a new frame in if you wish to do so. Okay, if this video has been useful for you, please do like, please do share. All likes are appreciated. If it's opened up a new channel of inquiry, if there's something you would like to explore more deeply, a question you'd like to ask, please do feel free to do that via the YouTube channel here or via the blog if you're watching this on the blog, or via Facebook or via whichever channel. Okay, take care.